I'm often asked with a high degree of curiosity by people about why it's so much easier and for a lot of people more effective, at least for a certain period of time, to listen to mind exercises and meditations as they close their eyes and get led through, as opposed to just thinking their own way through them themselves without the support of someone speaking them through it. And I think it's a really interesting question, and I think it's a well-founded question, and I believe that understanding it clearly provides a lot of insight into what we're trying to do with mind exercises, which is to develop a much clearer picture of what's occurring in your inner world, the world that exists inside your brain and body, so that you can shift into being connected to yourself and to your life in a way that works best for you. So the more that you know about the inner landscape of yourself, the better you can do that. And what I've seen is that a great way to think about what's going on in your inner world, and this relates to this question of why does it seem easier and preferable to listen to a mind exercise instead of to do it silently yourself, is to think of your inner world as having different dimensions within it. And in the case of this question, let's look at three of those dimensions. One is the speaking dimension, and that would be when you're speaking yourself. And another dimension would be the listening dimension, and that could be when you're listening in silence to your inner world, or it could also be when you're listening to someone else's words that are resonating within your inner world. Okay, and the other is the thinking dimension, which would be when you are thinking thoughts yourself, of course, in your inner world, and a hybrid of that is listening as you're thinking those thoughts, right? But that falls more into the listening dimension. If you've been through Be Your Purpose, you know that you can visit your bridge of translation in your inner world and observe the thoughts that arise off your bridge. In other words, you can listen to and see your thoughts. And so that puts you in the listening dimension. As you get more active with your thinking and your constructing of what we call emotional visualizations, for example, your best self, your imagined future self, now you're doing intentional thinking and you're shifting more from the listening dimension into the thinking dimension within you, okay? So we have those three dimensions, the listening, the thinking, and and we could also add a doing dimension in there too. But for the purposes of our question here, let's think about the listening dimension in you, and the thinking dimension within you, and the speaking dimension. So what we see is that when you are in the listening dimension, you're able to stay in a place where you can follow a sequence of thoughts without the distraction of speaking them to yourself, right? So if you're just listening to someone else's voice, it's much easier to stay in the dimension of listening, which will lead you much more easily because it is much closer to the silence that is flowing through you. When you're listening, as opposed to speaking yourself or thinking thoughts on your own, you are only 1 degree away from the silence within you, which is what you want to connect to during these mind exercises. When you're doing the thinking yourself or when you're speaking yourself, you are another dimension removed from the silence because you're having to think about and manufacture what you're going to say as one layer on top of the listening dimension. So I hope you can follow that. Now, when you've been doing mind exercise for a long time, as I have, and you've done it so much that you're able to speak your way through it while remaining in touch with the listening dimension and remaining in touch with the silence flowing through you, then the need to listen to be guided through a mind exercise reduces, because your level of distraction away from silence has been reduced because of the practice that you've done. And so for that reason, the more that we go through mind exercises together, and you close your eyes and listen as I guide you into your inner world and ultimately into deep connection with silence on a consistent basis, and in some cases into stillness, dropping into full connection with inner stillness, you are training yourself to be able to not only lead yourself through your own mind exercises, think yourself through them, but you're expanding your capacity to remain in touch with the silent energy of life that's flowing through you, through which you connect to your purpose throughout the course of your day without effort, or with less effort, or more consistently. And you're able to notice when you shift out of connection with that, because you've developed that inner listening so well that you notice the shift, the emotional shift of stress that you will experience when you shift out of connection, alignment with silence, with your purpose. So, with all that said, let's get on to a mind exercise. Let's take a deep breath, close our eyes. Let's make the epic shift together. The 3 steps of the epic shift are remembering that we're right now intending to make a journey deep into silence within ourselves. Now connect to silence as your second step by noticing the tingling sensation, the silence flowing through your inner world. And then the third step, observe, listen as your thoughts come into full connection with silence. Watch your thoughts slow down so that instead of arising thoughts occupying your inner world, you're noticing instead only the silence, the tingling in your body, the energy flowing through you. Now, I'll give you longer and longer pauses to experience only the silence, to allow your thoughts to fade away and connect to the energy flowing through you, through which your purpose flows. Good. And now that we've made a perfect epic shift, let's spend a bit of time connected to silence by tracking it around our body. I want you today to begin by noticing the tingling in your left hand. And if your attention gets distracted away from the tingling, noticing the tingling in your body, just as soon as you notice it, bring your attention back to the tingling sensation. Today, move your attention around slowly through each finger in your left hand, and then up your hand and your arm, and right across your body to the fingertips on your right hand, one by one. And take 2 minutes now to do that fairly, well, not super slowly, but fairly slowly. Go through the fingers and the hand and the arms, your chest and your other arm, shoulders and your other arm, and elbow, forearm, and hand on the other side, and then each of the fingers. And then I'll be back with you, and we'll complete the mind exercise for today. Let's do this for 2 minutes. Ready? Go. Okay, one more minute. If you notice your attention has wandered, just bring your attention back to noticing the tingling in your arms, your hands. Okay, excellent. That feels great, doesn't it? Do you feel deeply connected to your body and deeply connected to the silence flowing through it? Let's finish our mind exercise by, with our eyes still closed, observing, seeing, in this case, watching the silence flowing through us. Just look out now for a couple minutes until we're done. With your eyes closed, through your inside eyes, notice the light that's out in the space in front of you, the silent spaciousness of your inner world that is just open, without any thoughts, and it runs into the infinite. But you can see the specks of light which represent your attention flowing through your inner world as silence and into your attention. And just watch and notice that light, that silence. Just be one with your attention in your inner world as the space surrounding you expands because the thoughts have remitted. And so instead of being in the thinking dimension or even the listening dimension, you're just watching now, just observing. 2 minutes, and we'll be done with mind exercise for the day. Okay? Ready? Go. Okay, good job. One more minute. Notice how the light gets brighter and brighter as more and more of your observing is focused there, and less are in the other dimensions of your inner world. And if you shift away, just bring your attention back to observing the light, watching the light inside you, the silence flowing through you for 30 more seconds. Okay, great job. Open your eyes when you're ready, and have an incredible day. Great mind exercise. I'll talk to you soon.